we'll just run through what we did yesterday, and then we'll start with today's. So,
okay. Sir, just a small request. Can you please maximize your screen? It will be a better.
it looks very small because this is a Word file, no? So
Okay.
I'll save this on
Okay, it's fine.
PDF and I'll make it a bit bigger like this.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, it's not in a maximize mode, so just.
That's the thing. I'll have to remove the help. I'll just find out what is.
Please keep the so that you can see that.
Pardon?
You can keep this full screen to see this.
Yeah. Where is that setting here?
Three dots. I mean, not you. We can do it, sir.
Okay.
3 dots is the teams, and at there full screen.
Acha.
Someone can't. Got it. But it was at my end only.
No issue. So let's rush through what we did yesterday. So basically we touched upon client maintenance. Okay. In that
So you said you sent me this important T codes.
Yeah, T codes. Actually, even today I was very busy. Actually, I'll send you these T codes. That's not a problem. I'll send it.
Okay.
No problem. Then in the administration part, we saw that we need to, as an administrator, you need to send system messages to the people who are working on the network, on the SAP servers. Whether it is your quality system, development, production, whatever, you need to inform users that you're shutting down the system or when your shutdown is planned, etc. So all those messages are sent using SM02, and only the system administrator has got access to this particular system message facility. No other people can send messages on this because it is the prerogative of the administrator only. Then we saw the we'll go this is the client maintenance part now. Okay. This we have done it on the previous day, so we have to just focus on client maintenance. So in client maintenance, basically you will find that the clients are created, and then how we copy the client from a source client to a target client. That is what we saw. And there are very small things which you as a administrator you should know. For example, this is only a display view, but here if you look at the small icon which is a display as well as change, so when you click on this, it will give you this extra button here which says new entries. So in the new entries, when you click, it will you will have to populate the entire screen with all these details. Like for example, what is the client number, client description, what should be the status of that, etc. So that is what we saw. Okay. Now what we will be looking here is what is a client copy. Okay. Client copy now SCCL, that is a local client copy. Now that has the transaction code, they have upgraded it to SCCLN. That is it's a new transaction code, SCCL. So the earlier transaction code was SCCL, now it is SCCLN. So here you will find that this is your target client. Then here you will have to give the source client masters, whether you want to pick up the master files from there. And in case you want to do a test run first, it is always recommended you do a test run first, so that you know that your client copy will be successfully taken care of. Okay. In case your client copy fails, then it will restart automatically. So that restart mode, if you want to set it, you can do it here. So basically there is a small change in the SCCLN transaction. It is like this. This is the source client, this is the target client. Okay, from which, see, source client is important for a client copy because you want to, it is a copy. So copy in the sense you have to copy from some source to the target. So these source has to be there. Without that, you just cannot create a target client. Okay. Then there are different types of profiles which need to be uh, used when you are copying a client. For example, a client contains customizing data, user administration data, user authorizations data, user variants, etc. So depending on the profile, it will copy that data from the source to the target. Then they have given additional options which you can use. Okay, the split large tables we saw, if a particular table is too large, maybe say 50 GB or something, so it will split it and then it will.
Sir, will there be any tables like 50, 60 GB too?
Yes. In large databases now, you will have large tables. If your database size itself is say 1 or 2 TB, then your table space size will be less. But if your database size is too large, then you will be having large tables in that. Okay. For example, some finance and costing tables are too large. Okay. So that you will have to, for that, if you will have to split them, because you are if it takes only a single table, and then if it is using a single process, then it will take lot of time to create a client. So you have to know that, okay, in your system what are the large tables. So depending on that, you will have to decide on this particular option whether you want to split large tables. But it is always recommended that you tick on this, so that automatically it will pick up large tables, and you use parallel processing and convert them. Now these are the different profiles which we saw, which are available in SAP when you are doing client copy. Like we saw for some examples, customizing an application data without change documents. Then suppose you want only customizing to be copied. For example, first time you are doing a system is being installed, and someone says, okay, I want the SAP delivered customizing to be copied into this client, XYZ client. So you can use this SAP underscore CUST profile to copy the client from source to target. So there are many which are available, and see, these profiles are not known to the functional team. They will say, so you have to tell them that, okay, what is, you have to understand the requirement of the customer or the functional team, and then tell them that, okay, this is possible and what is possible and what is not possible. Because the functional team is not a technical team. The basis team is a technical team, and you have to tell them that, okay, only this is available in SAP. Many times you will come across people asking for something which is not there in SAP, but they want it. So you should be able to convince them that, okay, this is not available in SAP, this is what is available and this is not available. Okay. And
Sir, should I remember all these SAP underscore
no,
codes?
no, not at all. See, first thing is, you have to just understand the concept. You don't have to remember anything of this. But as a concept, you should know that when you are doing a client copy, there is something called profile. SAP profile has to be selected. So if you know that this much now, that some SAP profile has to be selected, or when you, let us say, you have even forgotten that there is a SAP profile, but when you run this transaction code now, that time itself you will come to know that it is asking for a SAP profile. So that time you immediately it will click to you that, okay, I need to use SAP profiles. So you don't have to remember all this. When you run the transaction code itself now, that time itself you will know that, okay, these options are there, and this is not required to be memorized at all. Okay, and they will not ask you in any interview what is the profile used for XYZ. You should be able to tell them that, okay, there are profiles provided by SAP, and you can select the one which you want as per your requirement, like that. Okay. Then either you can, once this client copy, you can schedule it as a background job, or start immediately and then it will start, So sometimes you need to select the masters from a particular client. So you want to select the this thing. So these are the details. These are the profiles which can be selected and so on. Okay. Now this was a local client copy. Local client copy means you are creating a client on the same server itself. Okay. It's not creating on a separate box. It is on the same hardware or on the same server. So that is called a local client copy. Now in the remote client copy, what happens is you are creating a client on a separate server itself. So in that case, what happens is whatever data is moving from the source to the target is from is via the network. Okay. So in this case, what happens is if your network connection is not good, or if the bandwidth is not good, or if it is not in the same LAN, then you could have issues, disconnection issues and failure of the background job which is running. Okay, so you have to take care of that. If it is in the same network, then there will not be any problem. So basic thing is it is on a separate box. So client copy on a this is called a remote client copy. Options are same like the local client copy, but the only difference is in this case you have to give the source destination. Okay, source destination. In the earlier lesson we talked about the RFC destinations which are created. So RFC destinations can be defined by the basis administrator, where he has to give the details like what is the IP address, what is the system number, with what user ID this RFC is going to log on to that system, what is the password and so on. So those details are required when the RFC destination is created. So during the remote client copy, only difference is it is going to ask you for the source destination. So from which source is the data going to get copied? Which source system I have to access? This particular system has to access which source system. So that you see when you are doing a remote client copy, let us say you have forgotten this, but when you come to this screen, you will remember. Okay, I have to give the source destination. So on a remote, if you have a let us say you have an interview question, if they ask you regarding remote client, you know what remote means. Remote means it is another server itself. Local means local server. Okay. So these are simple things to remember that will be easy for you to know it. So source client, see RFC destination it has given. So this you will have to give it. Then the target client, on which target it is getting copied. Again the options are same. Client copy profiles. The same profiles which we saw here. Again those are to be selected. Okay. So again profile selection is there. Other options remain same. Splitting of large tables, etc. Remote copy. This is very rarely used. This is SCC1, no? Okay. SCC1 is, what happens is, let us say you have, you have a client which is say customizing 100. I'll call it 100. This is your customizing client. In this, the functional team does all the customizing related work. Okay, and you have got another client, say 510, unit testing client, where your functional team will test. Okay, now both these clients are on the same server. Okay, they are on the same server. So what happens is when someone is customizing some particular process, what happens is that that data gets stored in a transport request. Okay, and it comes with some number, it has got some alphanumeric alphanumeric number is there. So what happens is now if see, as per SAP standards, whatever transport request is created, that you have to transport it to, you have to move it to your quality system and then to production. After testing, it will go to production. But prior to that, if the functional team would like to test it on the test server, on the same server itself, then what they can do is they can transport this request from client 100 to client 510, because this is a unit testing client. In this, they can, for example, they have written a program, or there is some customizing they have done, new process has been configured, let us say a new plant has been created, or new storage location has been created. If that is there, then they can transport it on. For this, this authorization is given to the functional team. Okay. uh, every time basis team is not required to do this, because many places the functional team, because keeps on doing lot of work. So just for testing this within the server, we need not do that may not be done by the basis team. This authorization can be given to the functional team. So this is what they do. They run this transaction code SCC1. New transaction code is SCC1N. So they do the transport, and once that is done, what happens is those changes take place in the new client, and then it is those changes are tested in the target client, like that. Okay. So this is this target client, and then you give the transport request, then it will come into that particular target. Then there is one option called client export. Client export in the sense, let us say you have got a set of SAP servers, let us say in Mumbai, and you want to send a particular client. Let's say your training client is there. Okay, all settings of training are in that training client, and you want to send that all those details to another server which is having the same version, SAP version, or kernel, etc., etc., onto another training server, let us say in Bangalore. So what you can do is you can run a client export, okay, with the selected profiles, etc. So what it does is it creates a transport request, okay. So this is a client export which is executed, okay. Again, here again the same what we say is the same profile is there, source, client, everything is there, okay. And here again you got the options of test, etc., etc. So in this, what happens is it creates a transport request. So a client export, let us say you got a client 660, which is a training client. You want to say, and this is, let us say it is located in, say, Mumbai. You want to send this to another server, maybe 660. You have got another training center available. It is, say, in, say, Bengaluru. Then what you can do is you will do an export here. Once this is executed, what it will do is it will create a transport request, okay. So this transport request you will send it across to your training center in Bangalore, and here it will get imported. So what happens is the client which is available here, okay, this will get refreshed. Client from Mumbai, like that, okay. So this is the basic use of client export and import, okay. One is local copy, one is remote copy, another is across the clients, let us say 100 to 510, and this is client export and client import, export and import. So this is the way client import will take place, okay. So here what while importing you have to just select the transport request which is to be imported. Okay. Here see here you are not giving any transport request number as such. Okay. It will automatically create it. New transaction code is SCC7N.
So why did they create new transition codes when the old transition codes are working?
No, what happens, see, back at the back end, each transaction code, okay, each transaction code that you see here, now, it is like this. T is associated with ABAP programs, a set of ABAP programs. Like I should say, set of ABAP programs. ABAP programs. So while the development is going on, they don't modify the old program sometimes. So new functionality is added now. So the team which is working, what they do is they create a different set of programs altogether. And for that, then your old T codes will not work now. So that's why they keep on modifying or telling us that okay, these T codes are no more active. So you will find
So
this.
what's the difference? One more query, sir. This is not out of this one.
Okay.
What is the difference between basis consultant and basis architect?
Nice question. See, basis architect is suppose you want to implement SAP. Okay, so for implementing SAP, you have to consider what kind of modules are going to be implemented. You have to know the number of documents that will be generated, or what are the number of documents presently in use. How many number of users are going to log onto the system, how many each user's documents will be created, and based on all this and your future requirement of let's say next 5 years, the architect decides what kind of SAP server you would require. Okay, so the entire detailing is done by an architect, and he will also tell you what kind of SAP landscape you should have, where you should have your servers in the cloud, and so on. So, what should be the memory? What should be, and I mean, everything is taken care of by the architect. And SAP basis consultant is basically he will look after the daily maintenance, the installations, the upgrades, the rollouts, and the go live processes, and maintenance. Basically, maintenance in a manufacturing kind of a thing. And in IT, there are two streams. One is support and one is implementation team. So if you're into support team, you will be supporting a large number of servers. So let's say one person will be supporting 5 to 6 servers. Okay, 5 to 6, say you can say production servers, and then small landscape like quality and development. And in implementation team, they will be into new implementations. Once the architect has decided, okay, you have to go live on this, then once the servers are procured, then you will be implementing the SAP software on each one of them, then connecting them, then troubleshooting, etc. Like that. So that kind of activity is there in case of an architect and in case of basis consultant. Then we saw because when you are running this client copies, you will always come across errors, or your whatever jobs you are running, you may fail. So there is a client logs. You can see it in this particular option. Okay. Then we were talking about SCU0. This is customizing cross system viewer, wherein suppose you want to check customizing of one particular client with the customizing which is available in another. So you can, basically this is nothing but just for comparison purposes, a specific component you would like to check, because sometimes what happens, some things work in a quality system but they don't work in the production system. Maybe some transport request has not been transported to production, or maybe some issue which you will not be able to identify. But these things, since I have gone through this, it happens. So this is basically an analyzing tool where the functional team can access and check what is wrong. It is working in one server and not working in other, whether something has been missed or something like that. So that is for that it is used. Again, object comparison, you want to compare a specific table which is in this and compare it with the other in another server, so that you can do it from here. Then we were talking about the language management. See, by default, when SAP is installed, it installs the German language and the English language. But if there is an additional requirement of languages, then you have to import them here. Those packages need to be imported. So what this does is it basically translates the English language into that particular new language. Let us say you have installed,
This
say,
should be bought by SAP. We should buy this from SAP, right?
they by default they give you, when you buy SAP software, they give you for all languages.
All languages?
Yeah. See, this software comes with all the languages you want, but while installing, like here, if you see on the screen, by default it installs only English and German. But if you have, while installation also, it will ask you whether do you want to install additional languages. If you say yes, then it will ask you for which languages to be installed. At the time of installation also, you can give the option, or later on, let us say today you are on English and German. Tomorrow you acquire another company, and you would like to install, say, Japanese. Then you can do it afterwards also. So basically what happens, the backend software, see, software is running in ABAP. It is not any language that we speak. It is just code. So in the front end, what it does is it converts all the scripts, language into, see, basically now you are seeing this particular word in language or language management. This is in English, right? Or whatever you are seeing this now, it is all in English. But if you are logging in as say German, then everything gets converted into a German language. Screens remain same, like that.
So my question is, if by mistake, if we install, if we select the other language, like Dutch or something like that, but the client don't need that language, what should we do?
No, doesn't matter, no. Doesn't matter. It does. See, yeah, it doesn't matter. You can always remove it also. But if it is installed,
What is the process for that,
for what?
for removing?
There is an uninstallation process which is there. You uninstall it, and these particular packages, they are not too large, that it will, and they are harmless. See, even if you install, let us say, Japanese, let's take an example where I have installed, say, Japanese in this case. Now, and if I'm not using it also, it doesn't harm. There is no harm, because only thing what it does is it has got something called translation text. Okay, what it does is, for this particular, for example, this sentence, enter selection requirements, it will enter a corresponding Japanese text for it or Swedish text for it. So only those texts are stored in this,
Okay.
like that. So
Besides English, we will get other languages.
correct. That's right. Like that.
And English will be like constant.
Yeah, English is constant. Yeah. In this case, by default, it is English only. But let us say you're installing the SAP GUI in, say, Germany, and there your default language, when you are configuring the instance, you can say my default in the instance profile. So this is where it comes in. These instance profiles or your default profile, that with what we learned in default profile, if you say my logon language should be German, then by default it will show you German, like that. So that you can configure what kind of language you would like to have. That can be done. Then we saw, this was a large topic which we covered. This was regarding the system measurement, USMM. This is regarding, basically this is used for self auditing and sending the data of SAP licensing to SAP. Okay, so in this we saw which clients to be these are the main list which is there. here we saw which clients to be selected for measurement. So you can select which clients to select. So here you will put a tick. It will not be a test client, it will always be a production. Okay, then you will have to select which price list is applicable for your company. So this you will come to know by reading the this uh, licensing document which you have signed with SAP. So with the help of that you will know which price list to select. Okay, see what they do, see if you look at this, you are selecting the client, then you are selecting the price list. Okay, and then you are giving the measurement data. See here, then you will select the different kinds of users, whether it is operational user, informational, conformational, basis, ABAP. This is a development workbench is ABAP and so on. So you will select all those users which are applicable to you. Once you select the price list, some of the users will get automatically selected here. And in addition to that, if you would like to select some of the users, like I was talking to you about, say special module users. So those module users you can see, these are not grayed out. Here you can define your own user types here and then use them. So those user types can also be used. Then we talked about the email address of the auditor to whom this data has to go. Okay. Then the next option was RFC destination for this license workbench. Okay, so this you need to define, where this is typically a solution manager system where you consolidate the data from all the production systems in your company. Okay, so you define the RFC destination. So RFC destination you will have to define, suppose you have got 5 production systems. So in each production system you will have to define the same RFC destination, because it has to go to one destination only. So like that. So after that, do you want to keep the measurement for you want to maintain the history for how many days or how many days and time you can maintain it here. So that history you can refer if you want it. Then there is another way of classifying the users, that is on role based. What kind of role has been assigned, whether he is a stores user, whether he is a security user, whether he is a production planning user, whether he is a finance manager, and so on. So depending on the role, you can classify the users as well. Okay. So this is role based in the sense these are the different kinds of roles which are available. So you can select the roles which have been assigned. Okay. So depending on that, then the roles, the users will get classified. Okay. Then in addition to this, in the new version they have also given the way you can define your own rules. Okay, wherein you can decide on you can decide on classifying the users depending on what kind of authorizations they have, what are their attributes, and what applications they are accessing. Okay, so you can define these rules on these 4 parameters: authorizations, rules, user attributes, and what application they are using. Now once the rules are defined, these are typically defined in a particular single system, because you want to replicate it in each of the other systems. So there is also a facility of transporting these rules. You can transport it to another system, because again same thing, there is no point duplicating the work now. Whatever rules you have defined, there is no point doing that. So defined rules you can transport it. So this is the transport classification rules. So this is the option you can use, export and import. So both options are available there. And this is the law T code, which is now deactivated. Now you have to use the transaction code slaw2. See, you will always come across these kind of situations that a particular T code you may have memorized. That okay, law. I was using say law. So I run law, then it will say, law is no longer supported. Use transaction slaw2. So SAP itself will proactively tell you that okay, this is not to be used anymore. Use this particular T code. Okay. So from this you will come to know that okay, I have to use the new law code slaw2. Now we touched upon this archiving. Archiving is basically what happens is the database size keeps on increasing day to day. So in that case, many administrators are forced to use archiving, wherein you delete the data which is not required. Delete in the sense that data goes to a file server or a magnetic media, wherein the data is stored and is still accessible using the SAP functional code, SAP functional T codes. Because what happens is on the production server, if your database size keeps on increasing, let us say today it is 10 TB, tomorrow it is 15 TB. So if it is increasing, what the performance degrades. So it is advisable that you archive the data. Now there are many archiving solutions which SAP has brought in that can be used. There are different character types, etc. These are used. This is very rarely required, but in case uh, if you're required to change the basically the code pages, etc., then you will have to define it here. But uh, this you don't have to come here at all. That is, I have never used this before. Okay, but you should know that okay, this is one location where you need to you have got to make changes. Okay. Now today we will be going ahead with the monitoring. Yesterday we have just gone through it. Now today we will see uh, about monitoring. Okay. So the next option which we are seeing is uh, so just to brush it up. Now you know how to log into the system. You know what are the software components of a SAP system. What has been installed. What is the kernel. You know what is the database. You know the operating system. You know the file systems which are installed, etc. Okay. Now what happens is you have also installed a license, etc. Now the next job is how are you going to, let us say your server is started, everything is there. Now what happens is you need to monitor the system on a daily basis. So let us go to the basic monitoring transaction codes which are used. For example, SM50 is a systems SAP systems overview. Here we have seen this earlier that it shows basically what are the processes which are running. Okay, it shows you which are the dialogue, the work process which are running, dialogue, update, background, spool, etc. So from here you will come to know the situation or the performance, how your server is performing, etc. So these details are coming here. If you just click on this active work process now, it will just show you the active work processes. And this is nothing but a summary. It will show you the total number of work processes, how many dialogue. See, this will, you don't have to read here. You can just look here and then tell the people. If someone is inquiring, you can tell them what is the present status. Okay. Now, if you want to check a particular work process, okay. Now, in detail, I'll just like to just point it to you. See, these are all the icons which are there, but each has got its own importance. Okay. For example, this first one is for refreshing the screen. This is for if you're selecting a particular item and you want to see the detail. This is the magnifying glass. This is just an overview. If you click on this button, active process only, it will show only the active. So active, whatever is active, this one it will show. Then again, this is for displaying the trace log. This particular from the disk it will display. This is for filtering. If you want to filter something, this is for sorting, ascending and descending. This is for the layout. If you want to make changes to the layout, you can make the changes to the layout. Again, this is adding, deleting in the layout. You want to mail this, then you can mail this. This is for downloading. This is if you want to make some notes. And this I have forgotten. This looks like a calculator or something like that, but this I have forgotten. This is just information. So all small icons also you need to know it, because as a system administrator you should know all these thoroughly. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Now for example, this particular dialog work process I have selected, and let us say I would like to see what is the trace log for this particular work process. suppose someone is encountering some error or something, so you need to analyze that. So what you will do is you will select this work process, you will select this particular icon, and then it will show you something like this. So if you see here, this is a trace file which has got a name dev_w7. W7 indicates this is the seventh number work process. Okay, starting from 0, 1, 2. This is actually the 8th, but here it is the 7th. Okay, so it will show you all the details. It's a full big file which is there, which you need to analyze. Now this file may be required by SAP for analysis, or you yourself will be requiring it for analysis. So this is very helpful. There is an option to download also. You click on download, it will download the entire file. Okay. So while monitoring the system, it is also your job to analyze. If, let us say, one of the programs is taking too long a time, then you need to analyze that. Or if someone is running a program and it is getting terminated immediately, then you can analyze the trace from here and check the log. Okay. Then let us come to the next SAP systems active shutdown. So SM51 is another transaction code which can be used to display the active servers. The other day I had shown you a screenshot of all the active servers. So here it is only one activity showing because it is only one server which is active on this particular SAP instance. So if you have multiple, then it will show all the multiple servers. Out of that, some of them may be shut down, so or they may be just coming up and so on. So here it will show you all the server status. Okay. Now let us have a look at the, for example, you click on the release nodes button. So it will show you the release nodes button. When you click it, it will show you what is the kernel release, etc., etc. So what is the level, etc. So how old it is and so on. So from here itself you will get all the information. You don't have to log on to the operating system. You can get it from here itself. Okay, which is the database which is used, etc. Now, for example, you want to check the system log. Let us say this is your system, and it is job of the basis administrator to check the system log on a daily basis, so that if in case there are some errors are being encountered, then you can check it. So you can click on this, you select the server, then you click on this particular icon. This is nothing but a system log icon. So here you give the date, whatever is required, and then it will display the system log for that particular date and time, whatever you are given. Okay. So in this system log, you will find that okay, these are the errors. Suppose you are getting errors here, then you can double click on them and see there is a magnifying glass here also. You can select one of these entries and then go into detail and then analyze what is the problem, etc. Okay. Then there is another option of from this same option, from here itself there is another option. See, like I was telling you about the small icons which are available here. First one is refresh, second is the work processes which are running, it shows that wheel. Then third one is the user processes. This one is I think the update request key. Then this is a release notes, any pending requests if update is pending. This particular icon is for logging on to that server. Suppose you have got 5 servers, you want to log on to that server, you can use this icon to log on to that server. This we have seen this system log. Again, this is if you want to see the details of this particular server, so you can click on this. So these in detail, as a basis administrator you should know this. Okay, we have seen the system log. Now we'll see who are the users who are logged on to this system. So if you click on this icon, so you will find that these many users are logged in here. Okay, client is, user ID is this, he is running these transactions and so on. Okay, so that is it will show you. Now here it is showing only basis, but there could be many other 50 users who will be logged on here. Okay. Now again, we have seen in the earlier this thing, if you click on this particular icon, it's a wheel, it shows the number of work processes which are running. or waiting. So all work process will display it here once you click on this. To directly see the users, we have seen this just now. This we have seen this. Then to view the sessions running for a user. Now what happens is this particular user is running some program. But if you would like to know what is he running, then there is something called ABAP sessions. So you click on this and you click this ABAP sessions button, then it will show you that okay, these two transactions he is running. So there could be a limitation on the sessions that are running, or and SAP has given you the facility as the administrator to either delete the session or inspect the session. Inspect in the sense, suppose a particular session is taking a lot of time and you would like to know why it is taking a time. So instead of deleting, if you would like to inspect it, then you can click on inspect session. It will take you to the source code or the where it is taking a lot of time, etc. And then you can analyze along with the ABAPer team. If you're not familiar with ABAP, then you will have to call the ABAP guy and sit with him and inspect this session. Okay. Then delete session, what it does is it will delete that session, so that suppose he is running a program and it is taking too much of time and resources, then as a basis administrator you have got all the right to select that particular session and delete it. So that is it. Then coming to this is for selection, and these are the buttons which I use. Then there is
one more query.
yeah
We
yes sure.
deleted by mistake.
Uh-huh.
How to get it back?
No, you cannot do any mistake like that. See, production system, if you delete it, what will happen, your database may become inconsistent. Because let us say some finance guy is running some transaction and you delete something. Okay. Basically, you will not delete it unless it is required, or unless there is a performance degrade. Because unnecessarily, why should a basis administrator delete a session? No? Unless there is some reason. Because if you delete it unnecessarily, what will happen is maybe because in a production system there are a lot of things which are configured. For example, the document numbers. So if by deleting, if your document numbers don't get updated properly, there is a missing link of say documents. So this will come into your audit when they do the information technology audit, general controls. At that time they will say that okay, these numbers are missing in your system, so we need to investigate. So they will drill down to your login wherein you have deleted that, and then audit will question you why you have deleted. So unless there is a proper reason, we should not, as administrators, you should not delete it. But in case there is a very performance degradation, then you have to take approval and delete it. Then you have to call up that user. For example, this basis user is there, or XYZ user is there. So you, as you have got a user master data record. In that you have got his phone number, you have got the related to a person's number, etc. So you can call him up and you can tell him that okay, this session is running for a long time and I'm going to kill it because I'm the administrator of the system. So if he doesn't listen, then you will have to kill it. See, many cases the database will roll back all the changes. Okay, but in case something is already got updated and something is yet to be updated, then in that case you will have a document numbers missing. Okay, so that you have to take care and then only delete it. Okay. Then coming to the gateway monitor. See, gateway monitor is used when you are connecting servers which are not on your network. Let us say you are connecting to another, like we saw TXCom and T-host servers. They could be other servers where you are connecting through your gateway monitor. Okay, or you could have another server which is connecting to your server. So that gateway monitor will show you those connection details in SMGW. Okay, this is the transaction code which is used, SMGW. Okay, for monitoring the gateway monitor. So this is for monitoring the connected servers to this instance. Then there is something called the message server. We have seen while starting the SAP server, we have seen that the the message server also starts. So if you want to monitor the message server through this SAP, then what you need to do is you need to run the transaction code called SMMS. Okay, this is the message server. So in message server, like we saw for the SM51, so similar options are available here also. So on the message server, if you basically click on this particular first icon, okay, you will get a detailed list of what is available on the message server, etc. So these are all the details which are available. Okay, so it's a big list which you can also download it or email it and so on. So all those options are available. This option is for looking it up in the browser. Okay, then the next option we will see, this is for refreshing. Then we'll see the third option is for displaying the services which are configured on this particular instance. Okay, so whatever are the services, HTTP, HTTPS, etc. So those services are there. Now this particular icon is for the trace file, like we saw earlier, the trace file for the work process or trace file for the user. So similarly, trace file for this message server is available here. So typically the name of the the trace file is dev_ms. Okay. So this is the entire detail of the trace file. See, sometimes what happens is you need to analyze what something. Let us say your message server is not starting at all. Okay, then what you will have to do is this particular this trace file is available on the operating system. So you need to go to that particular. We saw the different file systems, you know. So you will have to go to that particular file system and look at this particular trace file and analyze what is the problem, like that. So this you can analyze it. Sometimes SAP support requires this file, so you need to send it to them also, so that they will analyze and tell you. Here it gives a message server release information, what is the kernel, what is the system name, on what it is running, etc. So all these details are coming here. See, this may be small, but as a basis administrator, you should know it, because someone will ask you, give me the release info. Let us say external consultant is coming to discuss with you. So he will ask you, give me this, give me that. So you should be able to immediately log in and give this information. Okay. Because see, you don't have to, memorize all this. You get it? You don't have to memorize what is my release or what is this. So you can always see, broadly you will always know that your system is running on Linux and you have got a database which is Oracle or HANA and so on. But if someone is asking you what is the version, etc. So okay, it is not necessary that you have to keep in your memory all those small things. You can log into the system and you can always tell them that okay, I will give it to you by end of the day. So all those details are available on the system. Then comes the internet. We talked about the ICM, the Internet Communication Manager, which handles the HTTP and HTTP requests, HTTPS requests. So this is the Internet Communication Server. For that you use the transaction code called SMICM. Okay. So on this you will find that it is running. It is green. So whenever you start SAP, it basically starts off automatically. But you have got the option of starting and stopping this particular services from this particular T code SMICM. Suppose you are, let us say, you would like to add a new service and you would like to restart it. Then you can, after adding the service, you can restart it. Now, if you would like to know, for example, these are the different threads which are running, and you would like to know the detail of that particular thread. So you can select that particular thread and it will show you the description here. So I have just selected this 10 and then the same. Then services. What are the services which are running on this server? So it will show you, the HTTP is running, SMTP is running, HTTPS is running. So these are the different services which are used to access through the browser. SMTP is basically used for your email, and HTTP is secured access. So these could be on different ports depending on the infra team which gives access to your server. So depending on that, you will configure the services. Hello. Hello. Any question you have?
No, sir.
No. Okay. No, I just heard something, sir. Now services running are these HTTP, HTTP. You can additional services uh, uh, yeah, you can configure on this. That is possible. If you want to see, let us say, so one of these trace files, so let us say this is not getting active. Now this is active. It shows this green tick. Now it shows it is active. But let us say this is failing due to some reason. Then if you would like to see the trace file of this file, then you can select and see the trace file. So this is the dev underscore ICM trace. So it will, here you will be able to see what is the problem it is showing, what is the this thing. So you can troubleshoot here what is the problem. Okay. So this is the way you can view the trace file. This is for ICM recording. Let us say your one of your clients is accessing through HTTP or HTTPS, and you would like to record what he is doing. So that recorded recordings you can view it through this. Okay. So that is for viewing it. Now presently there is nothing available here. So here it doesn't show anything, but that is again for for analysis kind of a thing. Then we come to SM13. SM13 is used for checking the update request. See what happens is in your system there are multiple users who are logging on to the system, and correspondingly there are some when the user presses a save button, or when there is a background process which is running in the background, always the tables are getting updated, the document numbers are getting updated. Okay, the next numbers are getting generated, and some values are also getting updated. But sometimes due to disconnection, let us say you are working on the system and something has got disconnected, you are running a transaction code. Let us say you are doing, say, material receipt at the gate, and suddenly there is a disconnection due to internet, this say, or there's a power failure kind of thing, and then there is a disconnection. So what happens is, since this is a client server technology, nothing happens at the client, but everything happens um, at the server level, wherein that update process is in a state of process. But due to disconnection, what would happen is your update will come to a hold. It may not get updated. So this is a location SM13 where you can check whether some of the whether the updates have got cancelled, or whether they are yet to be updated, or whether they are in the V1 state or V2 state, and so on. So if you run it, so you can get the status from here. Now another thing which we need to look is, when you run SM13, what you need to look is whether your update is active or not. So just by running SM13, you should be able to see, immediately tell whether your update is running or not. If your update is not active, that means nothing is getting updated in your database. So there is something wrong in the system. You are able to log on to the system, but then there is something wrong, because your nothing is getting updated on the in the database. So then the basis team or the basis lead has to identify what is wrong. Whether there is a problem with the Oracle database, whether the database table space has got needs to be extended, or what. So you go into action mode and then identify that. If it is active, then nothing to worry. Okay. So once you run this particular, let us say you run this particular option, then you will find that, okay, in this these are the transaction codes on this particular date. They have gone into error. Okay. Now this CO11N is mostly related to some production planning transaction code. So this has got disconnected. So it is in gone into error. So you need to identify why this has gone into error. Can this be updated again? So there is an option of repeat update. So can this be updated? But you cannot do this independently on your own. Just because this has failed, you cannot update it. Okay, so you have to consult the functional team and also the user. For example, this is given as basis only, but if he is a production planning user, then you have to consult with him what has to be done about this. Okay, otherwise you just leave it as it is. It doesn't matter. If this is not got updated, there is no harm to the basis administrator. Nothing to worry. I'm just showing you how to just analyze this. Okay, this is updation of this record is not the responsibility unless they come back to us saying that okay, we need to update this, then only it is our responsibility. Otherwise you keep it like this only. These need to be deleted only when you are upgrading the system or migrating to another system where there is a in the migration manual it says that you need to clear off all the old updates. Okay, so in that case only when you are migrating, no one is working on the system at that time, you can delete all this. Okay, you can select all this and there is a delete button, so you delete all this. Okay, like that. That is in the case of migration. So I think today we have covered I'll save this. Today we have covered the process overview, the server overview, the user overview, the message servers, the different details, then the internet communication manager, different threads, how to analyze them, what are the different services which are running on them, how to start and stop. We can start and stop using the SMICM transaction code. Then we saw the update requests, the different types of update requests, how when an update gets terminated, how it looks in SN13. That is what we saw. So this is I plan to complete today. So tomorrow we will go ahead with the next options which are available. Okay. So Dinesh, any